Man must stay present as the formless. As soon as he looks at woman, he disappears in her, in the female sphere of life. That's why, if he's an advanced student of man, he should only look at woman if he can stay aware of himself at the same time. And if not, as most men, then they become part of woman. Then they enter and become part of the earthly seeing. Which is not man's seeing. And in effect starts looking at the earth as woman would do. Becomes a marionette, the female force. Taking over her basically egocentric earthly attitude, which is not a judgment, it's just woman has to take care of a family. So there's a natural egocentric attitude there. And man, if he looks at woman, he also becomes like that. And is activated into exploiting the earth for his or his family's own interests. And man is gone. So man, in principle, better let woman look at him to raise her up. Instead of looking at her, he should be with her, and that's his form of formless looking, seeing. If man looks at her in an earthly way, he cannot see her strangely. He starts to see her forms, energy. He will be attracted, taking over, inverting woman's natural attraction to man as he is in his essence. And then, to continue, if man is lost in woman, this will be reflected in the state of the world. In the worst case, the whole world is lost. Because without attunement to the higher, subtler spheres of life, it's a matter of time that the earth will be lost. If humanity only focuses on the lower levels, even if it's just about survival, then still they will lose the battle. A human being is not only survival or sex or power. Money, power, sex, as it goes. That's the end, if that's all. So how shall we define the crisis here on Earth? We could define it as the failure of man to be here, to not get lost in woman's world, energetic world, money, power, sex, survival. Or we can turn it around. The crisis of the failure of recognizing man. So then we turn it around. Because man is a reflection, and he is obviously there if he's recognized by a woman. If he's called for by the heart of woman, but felt abandoned, left alone, if the focus was only on the lower spheres of life. So from either side, it makes sense. And in reality, it comes down to the same thing. It seems to have become a bit of a, if not it was always already, a vicious circle. Man cannot come down here on Earth, in woman's realm, if he's not called for. Called upon. And how can a woman call if she doesn't know man? She doesn't know what's to call for. If she never met a man. She met many men. But it never truly resonated in her heart that this is man. She always had to adjust to her own world of form, in which it is shown that apparently this is man. These are male forms. So this is my logical conclusion, must be man. Only, as I said, it never resonated in her heart. She knew there is something about man that is beyond all that I've seen. That's also why some women are in love with Jesus and stay somewhere faithful to him, even if they are married and have kids and have sex. The inherent problem that way, of course, is then we separate life into two. The earthly life and the spiritual life. And if you look deeper, not only into the current crisis, but in all crises of humanity, it's all about this. The separation between heaven and earth, or spiritual life and earthly life. The duality between the earthly man and the man of the heart. The duality in woman. Of being faithful to her earthly interests, including having and raising up children in a good way as possible. And in the other end, the reality, the deeper truth of her heart, which has always seen all this, even this, what I strive for all my life, is not it. An unfulfilled longing is always there. call upon man, the call for man, paradoxically or not, is very far away at this moment. Even though it's, to me, to us, obviously, most needed now. So the risk is that we get more of the same, but then from the other side of the duality, instead of finally returning to wholeness, to the essence, to man. The risk is that we even go further away from it, fighting the current and whatever coming threats in the same realm. Earthly realm. Seemingly, or even truly, choosing the right human side. But my point is, if man is not acknowledged, the heart of man, this will again, if at all there's an improvement, if the right side, the good side, wins, even then we might make the same mistakes again and again. As long as we kill Jesus, these mistakes will be made. We kill Jesus in our own heart. We secretly love him, but not in our deeds, only in our heart. And we don't allow the heart to manifest here on an earthly level, do we? Not to say that it's easy. But well, there are pioneers somewhere. We must start. And not forget again. Any new alternative system we create, we have to create currently, should, if it's viable, if it should sustain over a long period of time, should understand what man is, his essence, what the heart is. Not by words, but by direct experience. And in a way it's simple. If you want to live holistically, then all the life spheres, all the chakras if you want, should be taken into account, and not only the lower three. Which is I would almost call the highway to hell. Even though the highway can go slow, gradual. We must acknowledge finally how important, how crucial true spirituality is. in life on earth, in human life. Talking about true spirituality on purpose. Not about all the variations on it that distract people from the essence. Even though there may be good attempts. One basic rule to distinguish here, and even that will not be easy for most people, is to see if in the spirituality the whole earthly life is included. Beyond the words, there's many spiritual paths say how important it is to earth, to be in life, etc., etc. It's all nice, but I never saw it manifesting. I never saw really the cut or the division between high and low being melted into one. Also not when people cannot stop talking about oneness. And that's exactly where man comes in the picture. Without man there is no real oneness. As long as this world is left to what I call the female force, that's the same as saying it is left to the duality force, which usually rules not only women but also men. And there's nothing wrong with this duality in itself. This is again another misunderstanding. Only it should in the end be subordinate to the one, to man's heart. If you want to create and sustain, maintain a viable commune, society. And in fact, it's just natural to allow that. And yet it seems to be so hard. It seems so far away from what is really manifesting here on earth. You can see it so well at the leg of man. You can see so well manifested in, especially the ones who are ruling now at this moment on earth. The leaders of the big corporations who are about and already busy with taking over the whole world via their money and power system and means. There's absolutely no man. I see these guys, in my terms, and for some people it will be strange, but I say that they're women. There's no man. If they would allow a bit of man, they would stop what they're doing. If they would really contact women, a woman, they would stop what they're doing. Stop fucking up the earth. They would start to feel what they were doing. This moment they're not here. They have not any idea about the consequences of what they are doing to the earth. They're also not interested in it. And because basically they live in a separate state, they are very separate from women, even if they're married. Most of these guys have a partner probably, and they make love probably. It's, for some of these people, it seems strange to me, but I guess it happens. Because they're so separate from women. So almost as an outer earthly entity, they make love to a female body. Which is strange. Also a bit disgusting in a way. Repulsive for a woman. Yeah. And who is responsible for this? It's also the other side of the coin. If woman allows this to happen. So if as woman you're not present and you allow a non-present man to, okay, let's call it make love to you, to your body. I mean, it's just... It's tragic, but it's also fun. What are these people doing? The problem is only that this has big consequences. Because mostly the most separate people, they have the most power on earth. And this is not funny, really, because it brings a lot of suffering, really, to so many people on earth. Just good-hearted people who deal with everyday life, try their best, and their life is being made so difficult and more unnatural by the guys who are so separate from what's real here on earth. And they want to impose their technological inventions that they even sometimes steal from the inventors. They patent it and they impose in their own way, with their own interests, these technologies, supposedly for the good of the people, but it's not true. And these very separate people decide what happens here on earth. The politicians just follow. There again, if they're in a male body, there's no man. In the past, well, a bit older than average, I guess still could see some politicians who had more manifestation of men. Nowadays, this is really getting difficult to distinguish a few of these people. There are still men who have more men in themselves and who can even manifest some of it. I mean, I see more men, but many men are weakened. And I don't mean that as an offense. I would almost say because they are men, they are weakened here on earth. And this is a very important pattern that you have to see. The good-hearted man who can bring the heart of man down on earth, they are weakened as soon as they get in touch with this female earth. Sometimes I want to speak to the whole world at once. Open your eyes about man and woman. It's not only that you can learn so much, you understand about everything, at least the basics of life. You also understand that if you don't understand it, what man and woman is about, their relationship, their love, their struggle, their fight, their separation, their attraction. If you don't go into that, you don't understand it. That this has big consequences for everything that happens here on earth. your state of togetherness or the lack of it, you take into the world and radiate it there. And your activities are based on your state of being in relation, the degree of being in relation, or the lack of being in relation with the other sex. So no, men and women should not be set aside as a separate subject. It is not a separate subject. It's the core of life. It's the basic. This attraction, this dual attraction between two sides. This creates life. Or it is the manifestation of life, you can also say. Duality is the manifestation of the one. The dual sides are attracted and they meet and create new life. Thus, that way. And also you pass on your own state of how you are in relation to the other sex. You pass on to the next generation. Because consciousness doesn't die when your body dies. It seeks new bodies for itself to manifest, to develop further. Or to be clouded. I mean, there are no rules. There's not a straight, direct line upward to a state when people are fully conscious. It goes up and down and back and forth, and in and out, and just name it. You see, everything is inverted here on earth. And with everything, the most powerful man, who seem to be most man in the sense that they have the most power, or even the most muscles. I mean, all these supposedly male characteristics. Usually they're the least man. And I really, it's not exceptional that I had tears in my eyes, or even cried from seeing men who are totally weakened. But yet I recognized them as men. They were crushed by this world, this female world of darkness. These men could bring light as when you see their heart. And we all have somebody eye to see straight, direct, without thinking. These men should be respected. They have something to give to this earth. Although it's true that they're struggle to go through and they cannot be helped to be allowed here. Because it is exactly through the struggle of manifesting your man here on earthly level. That man will be here on earth. He cannot be allowed by women just like that. First, woman must be enabled to recognize him, so that he can respond to that. It's again a bit of a strange vicious circle. If he's not recognized, he's not inspired, he doesn't have the force to settle here, to come down, to manifest a man. And then again, if he's not down here, a woman cannot recognize him as such. Well, her heart can, in fact, but her energetic being here on earth cannot do anything with it. That's also what happened to me before I was 30. And women could be in love with me, but they couldn't be with me on an earthly level. So I had to struggle myself first down to earth, so that something was possible at all, which indeed happened. So I could say both are responsible for breaking through the vicious circle, but man is the first. He can, with his heart, see that his heart is not allowed here on earth, and this is inherently painful. And if he is ready to feel the deep, deep pain of this, that's the beginning of the manifestation of man. But man is not against pain at all. He's here to transcend the pain on earth. And the way to that is to first feel it in himself, as if it were his own pain. This is very important to realize, to understand. He takes over, when he comes here down to earth, the pain of this female world. But he doesn't come there as some kind of advisor or scientist who knows the solution to the pain, because he doesn't. Only if he submits to this pain, to feel it all, and becomes part of it, when he can say it's also mine, then, only then, it's not his anymore, and he can radiate the pain that he transcended in his heart in a feelable, perceptible, for a woman perceptible form to her. And that makes a difference. Because in this way, if man himself first felt the pain, he allows woman to finally also feel the same pain that she always knew was in her, and is still in her, but she cannot truly touch, no matter if she cries or not. Of course you can cry, but that's not the same as allowing man's heart to touch his pain. That's a totally different sphere, realm. And only in there, if man's heart is here on earth, after that struggle, then woman's pain can relax in his heart. And something substantial can happen here and transcend here on earth. That's why it's so damned important that man and woman look for each other, try to find each other, including all the misery in it, the failure, the frustration, pain of not managing, not succeeding, loving someone but having to lose him or her. All this is included. This is a struggle to become one, to allow man to be and rule here on earth. Not a man as you thought he was, because he's not. I'm talking about the essence of man, his heart. That's the essence of man. Do we want his heart to rule here on earth or not? And with rule, I don't mean the old type of rule. I would almost define it as outshining all the normal earthly tendencies here on earth by the shine of this heart, and putting it all in its place. Let's call it secondary place, which doesn't make it unimportant. But there's a natural order in things. If it's obvious that the heart is first, then the rest follows naturally. And a lot of fuss most fuss is gone. And that's, to me, obviously, and to, I guess, quite a few people, is exactly what is lacking here on earth at this moment. The acknowledgement that the heart is first. Nowadays it's sometimes called the human factor. I prefer to call it the heart, but human factor, I guess. That's what's lacking. It's not about figures, about money, power, sex, just name it. All these supposed attractions. They're all empty if the heart is not there as well. All these things become alive when the heart is there. The heart enlivens everything. If the heart is ruled out, it's bent to the margins of society, and there's no viable, no human society anymore. It's empty. And that's what's going on now. We put more and more technology instead of the heart. This is sick. This is sick to the bone. We must wake up to this craziness. To allow some people who apparently have interests, whether for their status, their money or power, or having a sexual availability of women or whoever, for these kind of interests, to allow that the world is taken over by technology, by robots, more and more by chips. I have no word for this sickness. This is the sickness of this time. And yes, I'm worried if we allow this, how far this will go, and if it's not too late at a certain point, because the further we go in technologies, the more they have the power to destroy everything, destroy our humanity, the culture that we created. Everything that's of worth. This moment in society, there are, let's say, forces active that want to debunk man. But the people carrying this force and acting it out, you have no idea what man is. And I'm even afraid that you don't want to know, because you're so afraid of it, that you will be put in your place with your ego. Because as long and as soon as man is there, There's no place for your ego to rule, that's for sure, honey. And in the worst case for you, you start to love man. And that's not what you want, at least, at least not what your ego wants. So yes, I don't say this for nothing. In the end, you can see this whole struggle currently is about the ego and the heart. Do we want the ego to rule on earth? That's what happens now. Or are we more humble and do we allow ourselves to be part of something bigger, the heart, and that to acknowledge that it's not about us. It's not about our great ideas or our great technology that we invented, that we can impose on other people, that we can rule over other people. But can we allow ourselves to live our humble lives? With normal human things that make us glad, human, feel free. Just normal things, normal social contacts. Do work what feels good, without a rat race of these modern times, which is not necessary. Anyway, no career anymore. It's all one big ego show. It leads to nothing. Many people know this and still they go on because other people also do it. This is stupid. Really? Everyone is a step out of the rat race. If need be, we create first an alternative society, or parallel society as they call it nowadays, to show the other ones how you can live also in a human way. And I'm sure many of the other side, so to speak, will be attracted and see, yeah, I also want to live in a human way again. But okay, at this moment we're struggling. It would already be good if we acknowledge the sheer lack of man here on earth. And how sad it is. At least every woman has said about this. I see that. I see women. In a way, I've always seen them as a boy already. Saw their pain, unfulfillment, trying to be happy, and now even trying to have a career on top. As if it's not bad enough. There's no simple solution for that, as long as man is not here. Because as woman, you're not whole. And as man here on earth, at least as a form, you're not whole either. You cannot make yourself whole. This is one of the big illusions here on earth, also in spiritual circles. That as an individual you are whole. You can be whole, if only you work on yourself. Or, well, there are many ways for this, supposed ways that lead you to a state of wholeness. Basically, we are relation. We are a manifestation of relation. On the deepest level, we're not an individual meeting other individuals. We are this relation itself. It goes a bit too far probably for most people at this moment. But if you go really deep, seriously into spirituality, you will find this. And you will find how important it is that the female and male side truly meet, see each other, feel each other, respect each other. It goes naturally then. You don't have to force that at all. There's nothing more beautiful than man and woman being one. And it's so natural. So natural that you would almost not strive for it. But instead, allow it to be so. And both man and woman know this. If there's a moment you feel totally one, you know there's nothing beyond, nothing above this. This is it. There's nothing to want anymore, nothing. All other wants are part of this, going in the direction of becoming one with the opposite, with the other. No longer being your self, your supposed self, which in this oneness appears to be an illusion. It goes far beyond happiness. And I can say it because I've been there. I'm still there. I can live any state of the human being. Total bliss, just name it. Total misery. But nothing compares to man and woman being one. I know many people, the ego in people, will immediately wonder, how do I get there? Because maybe this guy is right. You won't get there. At least not through his ego that wants to be in that state. The heart is totally beyond ego. If you don't let it speak, you don't come anywhere. It's totally hopeless, the whole enterprise. It starts with the heart. It is through the heart, the whole process. And it ends with the heart. And that's all. That's all there is to it. And in that process, there are many things you need to go through, experience. Big misery, bliss, as I said, whatever states come by. But it can only happen in the heart, or it doesn't happen at all. I mean, people do many things apart from the heart, but it started nothing. It is nothing, and it leads to nothing. And that's, as always, it's funny and sad at the same time. It's sad because it has big consequences for the world, it creates so much suffering in vain, because it leads to nothing, as I said. And on the other hand, it's funny, because everything is dual. You can see everything also from the perspective of total, how do you say that, non-attachment. In a way, it's the former state that sees all the forms happening in itself. And it's not attached to anything. It lets go of everything. Let everything happen just as it does. And when it sees then senseless behavior, it cannot always hold its laughter. But as I said, everything is dual. It's not really funny. The whole thing is a painful struggle. But it's all worth it. I can tell. I tended to say everything that brings man here more on earth in woman's realm is worth it. And going consciously through the pain of this earth with all its inhabitants is an inherent worthwhile part of this. Everyone who feels consciously pain is part of functioning already in man's heart. People who stop projecting it on other people, but start feeling it by themselves. They contribute to bringing man here on earth, man's heart. And this is so worthwhile. This cannot be overestimated. Without man's heart here being on earth, man and woman cannot be together, truly. Man's heart is needed for that. Man's heart is the one, it's the same. And without the one, there's only duality. There's only man and woman, man and woman. As I sometimes say, and this is at this moment for most people too difficult to understand, I guess, there's man and woman, and there's man beyond man and woman. The male force. This male force, man's heart is beyond the duality of man and woman. It seems complicated, but once you understand this, you start to understand so much. You see all dualities manifesting all the time. You see there's oneness beyond that. That's even manifesting as this duality. But there's freedom in it. As soon as there's one heart of man is there's freedom in the duality. You're not a slave of it anymore. You don't have to win a fight against the other side of the duality. In yourself, the struggle will always go on. Duality is the manifestation of the one. But it doesn't mean you cannot be free beyond it. You can. But not after a big struggle. Which we should not turn around it. Every struggle leads to this. In the struggle, intelligence should be allowed. You might get somewhere. Like for instance, when you're crying, when it's really bad at a certain point, then if it's limited to, let's say, self-obsessed crying because you're pitiful in a way, you find yourself pitiful, then it doesn't work. I mean, maybe you get some relief energetically from the crying in itself, but there's no development if there's not at the same time also a deeper force allowed, the force that sees it all happening, that sees your drama happening, manifesting, in this case in the form of crying. And these things happen simultaneously. This conscious process goes on while you are, let's say, energetically in a process of crying. Crying is very relevant. When humanity doesn't cry, it's pain. Certainly nowadays, speaking 2021, then I'm not very optimistic for the future. Because all this what happens is painful. And if we are not through with what all this does to us, but we only fight in return, which is not bad anyway, to fight in return, it's even necessary. But if at the same time we don't feel, indeed our feeling level, what it does to our system, to our organism, then there's no true development, and it's waiting for the next drama of humanity to unfold itself. The emotional realm is much more important than people realize. We cannot be truly here on earth without submitting to this realm as well. And I see that with most people that's where the big block is. There are more important realms, but I see the emotional realm is the one that keeps people away from really being present here on earth. They never totally, if at all, went into the emotional realm because of fear. Discomfort in it. Doesn't mean people don't express sometimes their emotions, their feelings. in words and also in an energetic sense. But that's not enough. To totally go into it, that's quite a submission, quite a humbleness, humility. Because you will be totally humiliated. The one you thought you were will be gone if you're totally into that. And for however long you cannot find it back. Although at the same time, that seems a bit paradoxical. Let's then say on the deeper level things are getting more clear. The big transition has started. The big transition into the direction of allowing man's heart to live you on an earthly level. No one can live the man in him or herself without having allowed tears, sincere tears, about the drama here on earth. And it's not bad to start with your own drama, to gradually or however, anyhow, sort of upgrade the personal to the impersonal drama here on earth. The tears deepen. But in the end it's the same pain. Meditation deepens. The course of that process. You cannot find yourself anymore. There's one huge space. However could you find the self in there? There is no one. When finally there's no one anymore, then there's the one manifested as one seeming person, but there is no person. There's this one manifesting in a unique way. And this one will be met by the two. Man will be met by woman. Because what happens here on earth is love. Always this love wants to manifest here on earth, make itself known, obvious, even if there is no space for it allowed. And when it's therefore not recognized. $2,000 ago, they tried to kill love. And still, they seem to succeed. But not truly. You cannot kill love. You cannot kill the root, the base. It's a vain, arrogant enterprise. To try to kill love, to try to separate people. To bully their children. Because the heart is here. And it will always be here. That's for sure. I will always be here. Find me in your heart. Don't be self-obsessed. There's more than you. This heart lives you. there's nowhere to go than to this heart. This heart, and only this heart, liberates, sets you free, shows you your reality, shows you yourself beyond yourself, shows you love, truth. Your being a relation. This heart is the relation you dissolve in. You're suffering these souls in. There's only this heart. I greet you as myself, as the heart. Be well, be heart, be love.